It's time to engage in cyber talk with the Chief of Cybersecurity.
Welcome back, everyone. Welcome to Friday. Welcome to another session of great talking and discussion. For all of my career-minded people, I know you're probably sitting down now wondering, how can I get my resume correct? Well, if you stay close and listen to this live stream, you're going to be able to get some key tips on making your resume a success. Here's a little story for you here. When I retired out the military, one of the problems that I had was to really know how to craft my resume. I spent a lot of time researching. I spent a lot of time talking to various people about how I could make my resume a success. And I changed my resume probably like 1,000 times, trying to figure out what is the best way to construct my resume so that recruiters would probably say, hey, I want to hire this person. Like me, many of you out there listening are probably going through the same changes now. But there are some success factors that you can use that will help you channel your resume and make it successful. So, what I want my listeners to get out of this live stream is tools and tips. Um, I realize that certain people resumes look differently. I realize that certain people do not have any practical experience in IT at a certain level. So, how do you document that on your resume and be factual? There are some key tips that I'm going to give you today. Even if you're an entry level person that has never worked in IT, but you have all the certifications and you have all the education. Now, how do you document your resume and then market yourself where you can get a job? I am going to be talking about that topics as well. So let's get some myths out the way first. Here goes a couple here. Okay. I need to pay somebody $1,200 to do my resume. No, you do not. You just need to research. While I was driving to this podcast studio, I was having a discussion with a family member about the same topic. Is that a lot of times when you spend a lot of money on resumes, they're copied and pasted over. Now, I'm not telling you not to go pay money for a resume, but just validate the sources. Something else, jobs want your resume title to match. The IT industry has so many job titles. So you have to change your resume to match the job. If you have missing skill sets, I can understand that. But if you don't have no missing skill sets, now what you do is that you compromise your your opportunity of obtaining employment, because what if you put something fake on your resume? All I am saying is that make sure it's accurate, factual, but market yourself the right way. One page, I've heard it millions of times. You need a one-page resume. Last time I saw somebody with a one-page resume was about 50 years ago. No, so let me just be honest, right? It was about 20 years ago. In this age of technology and knowing that all the skill sets that people have, knowing that what a lot of employers require you to have if you want to come on board and to work as a cybersecurity analyst, I doubt many people can have a one-page resume, because if you look at the job ad, it talks about all the different tools that you need to have, and you may have to demonstrate the use of those tools. Every person that works in cybersecurity has multiple skill sets. Multiple skill sets. If you think about Splunk, if you think about Cube, Radar, and all the different tools that you have to use, look at SecOps is coming out now, and it's very important as well too. And just knowing that you have to have all those skill sets and all the different tools, a one-page resume probably won't work. Now, if you decide to do an 8-page resume, then I think you extend it just a little bit too far. But take into consideration about the resume, and that sometimes a one-page resume will not work. Now, unless you are an entry-level person that just started out in the industry, maybe a one-page resume will work. And for others that are in the industry, unless you decide to use a 8-point font or something like that, that's when you can have that one-page resume. But then recruiters can't read your resume because the fonts are so small. So let's just talk about what is going to be accomplished today. I am going to talk about why your resume needs work. If you're that person that probably have sent out 1,000 resumes and you state, I have not got a job yet, but there's a reason why you have not got a job yet. And it could be various reasons, such as just you don't document your skill sets appropriately. Maybe you're not direct to the point. Maybe it's the presentation. And speaking of presentation, that's the first area I want to talk about today. So let's just talk about presentation. All right. If you take a ring and you put around your life, and if you think about cybersecurity, that ring is supposed to represent everything on the inside, especially about you. So presentation means a lot. Okay. When you decide to do your presentation on your resume, colors colors are nice and neat. And I've seen certain resumes that would have your LinkedIn profile in the corner. So that's pretty too. And I've seen some resumes that have maybe all these nice pretty colors, and you only have a two-page resume. Imagine if your presentation was just simple and you can put more information on that resume about your skill sets. So, with presentation, it is very important. You just got to make sure that you use the right graphics program. Microsoft Word has some free resume templates. If you go online, you can find some free templates as well. If you go to Fiverr, right? Fiverr.com. There are millions of people that will take your resume and put in a nice format for probably only like about $50. All right. If you go there, you can find plenty of people that would do that. If you have it already written, they can put it in a nice format for you. And this is how you pass presentation. Colors. Typical for cybersecurity, blue is a very pretty color. Blue or black like the dark colors. When you start to move over to things like pink and purple and all the other different colors, that may be taken away from the view of your resume. Okay. So just keep that in mind, that use nice colors, dark colors like blue. All right. So what you just did then, you just decided to go and to do your resume. But one of the things too that you have to think about is your personal information. So let's just talk about your personal information for a second here. Personal information are those things that are straightforward, that sits at the top of the resume. Your name, email address, phone number. Some resumes may not have your phone number because you don't want people calling you all day, but you have to have an email address. So speaking of email address, make sure that it's professional. Do not use one such as Steelers 1996 @gmail.com. Although I like the Pittsburgh Steelers, I would not put that as an email title. Maybe I could do something such as Dewayne.Hart @gmail.com. Probably one I could use. Or you could use your first letter in your last name, or pretty much you can use your last name and the letters of your first name and the letters of your middle name, but make sure that it's professional. It's okay to put numbers at the end and characters, but make sure that your resume is very professional. And what I mean by being professional, because recruiters are going to look at that email address because recruiters don't know you. So, what represents you is your presentation and also information about your email address. So you make sure that you stay very close to that as well too. Um, Address, I talked about that as well. Some people do not want to put their address in their resumes, and I don't blame them about that. But at least have some type of contact information on your resume, such as your email address. Make sure you have your name up there as well too. At a minimum, have your name and have an email address, and use the proper font. Because if you go out to Google, and I'll say this again, if you do a great search, you will find resume templates that have name titles at the top. And some of these you can download and you can copy and you can put into your own document. All right, so what you just spent a lot of time working on your presentation, and you got the nice pretty colors are going, and now your personal information is documented. Now, here comes the bread and the butter. Let's talk about your work experience. When you work in the world of cybersecurity, there are some work experiences that you have to document. So I'm just going to talk about a few. One is a problem solver. Talk about how you resolve problems. You can say that I mitigated 25,000 vulnerabilities over the past year. Okay. You can say that that you track and reported over what 55,000 incidents that resulted in something. Maybe that the enterprise was able to reduce its risk exposure by 25%. Customer minded. Talk about how you help the corporation move to that next level. All organizations like to mature. In the cybersecurity mindset, if you go under uh, the, the chapter called a value proposition, right? In that chapter, I wrote about how to become a high value asset. When you become a high value asset, that's when you help the corporation grow. So when you get all the skill sets, when you gain all the knowledge, when you go out there and you do your research and you're able to help the company grow, you become a high value asset, right? So with that said, now you have focused on being a customer minded person. Talk about how organized you were. In this day and time of technology, there are a lot of remote workers. And with the remote workers, people are holding meetings. People have 3, maybe 4 meetings a day. So, so you can talk about how organized you are because IT people deal with an enormous amount of paperwork. How can you organize and structure things that are going to be simple? Communicator. If you can't communicate in IT, you are setting yourself up for failure. We are talking about how you can organize teams together, how how you improve the communication process. Maybe it's a workflow process that you created. One of the workflow processes is that a lot of teams have to remediate high-level vulnerabilities every month, maybe on Windows servers. You could create a workflow process that could show how an organization remediates those vulnerabilities from the initial time a scan is done up until the time that you get the reports and you go through your testing phase and all your remediation phases and you add in your SLAs and all your exceptions and all your reporting. So when you go through all of these phases, now what happens is that you can draw up a workflow process. And I will say that a lot of live streams that I have, I am going to be talking about these same topics. If if you are not a subscriber, please go subscribe and also share the information in your groups because there's a lot of great information that actually can be shared. Because I see a lot of questions on some of the groups that I'm part of on Facebook where questions are asked, and I kind of reply back and say, hey, you go to my live stream, because the same information I uh, posted on my live screens are the same information that people are asking questions for. Now, I'm saying that because it simplifies the process. Some of the other areas is that a team player. When you think about workforce monetization, you have to be a team player today. When you are a team player, you are talking about how you partner and collaborate with different teams. Although you work in cybersecurity, though, you may have to team with cloud people, maybe some system admins, maybe networking personnel, maybe the help desk. Talk about teamwork and also your internal teams as well too, because these are the key skill sets that's going to make you look highly marketable when a recruiter sees your resume, because recruiters are going to 1,000 resumes. You want to make their job simple, very simple. Do not make a recruiter's job hard, because you want a recruiter to look at your resume and say, you know what, I just got to go to lunch, I just want to see if I can take 15 minutes and look at this resume. He or she may just look at that resume for only 3 minutes and say, I want to hire this person. See, now that's the type of information that you want to communicate. Here goes some key bullets for you here, right? On your resume. Install 15 SIMs, and you maybe describe how you install those. Something like Splunk. Remediate remediated 1,200 Windows vulnerabilities. Yes. And make it actionable about what you've done. Close 234 incidents, and maybe you did something else, such as made out of reports for those incidents. Those are some of the key things that you need to put on your resume. Presentation, personal information, work experience, right? So let's go ahead and talk about these technologies that are available. Everyone has to deal with certain technologies. The cloud. Talk about how you interface with cloud, maybe some artificial intelligence platforms. Talk about networking. Talk about software. Talk about SIM. Talk about vulnerability management tools. And if I have forgot about any, once once you see the live screen on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube, go out there and post some other information out there so that the listener can gain some other relevant information about the different type of technologies and skills. Because in this day and time of cybersecurity, everyone is a multi-skilled person. You can just not walk into any environment and just know Splunk and just know Tenable Nexus, because there are so many different tools. And as an entry level person, you're going to spend most of your time in a SOC just kind of learning tools. But see, when you learn these tools, see, that means that you get involved with the tools. Because when I was a junior analyst, I used to spend a lot of time, which was my downtime, just scrolling through a lot of tools and figuring out how these tools operate. Because when I was called to duty, I wanted to be able to explain how that tool operates. One of the two tools was McAfee ePO Orchestrator, HBSS. If you work in the Department of Defense cybersecurity space, you know about McAfee ePO Orchestrator. And and for you seasonal people that are working on McAfee ePO Orchestrator, I started off with version 3.8. Yes, 3.8. And I'm pretty sure it's probably up to version 5.2, about 3 now. So learn these tools, but when you document them down on your resume, tell how you use those tools. Don't just say, I have experience using Splunk. Talk about how you use Splunk to extract logs. Talk about how you use Splunk for vulnerability management. Maybe it's for incidents. Maybe it's for auditing. Talk about how you use Splunk to help find misconfigurations in baselines or something like that. Okay. Maybe there was an advisory from DHS, and maybe you had to use Splunk to do some deep dive analysis, and talk about how you did that, because at the end of the day, all recruiters, they want to ask as less questions as possible. So your job is to make sure that they don't ask you a lot of questions, that you are able to document it on your resume, and you want them to look at your resume and say, you know what, I don't think I have too many questions to ask this person, but I just want to have a talk with them. And once they have their talk with you, that's when you talk cybersecurity. And one of the ways to talk cybersecurity is to keep listening to my live streams. If you can repeat everything I say, and if you can stay on track and talk intellectually about cybersecurity, that's when you are impressive. So let's talk about something else. Coding. Coding is one of the things too. If you have done some software coding and building of application, but also too, most of the software developers can transition over to cybersecurity as well. And you can put it on your resume because you spend a lot of time working on different codes such as Java, some .NET, Python. And when you're working on something like a .NET application, you are looking for buffer overflows. Okay, you are looking for SQL injections. You are looking for some of those cybersecurity issues. So, in essence, if you're a software developer, then as far as application security, you are halfway there. All you have to do is to learn how the cybersecurity process operates. All right. Because in this day and in this time, everyone is part of cybersecurity. I don't care what your IT role is. And for the cybersecurity people, document your information down properly. So, education. So, let's talk about education. Do not use 50% complete. Either you got it done or you don't. Okay. Yeah. If you're waiting to go take a test, well, you go take the test. Um, if you've done the training, which is good for certain certifications, all right, then well, you can document it down. But just don't put down 50% complete. That doesn't sound professional. Talk certifications. I got a friend now, which is a senior level cybersecurity person. He has like about 12, maybe 13 certifications. Okay. Now, he doesn't have a one-page resume. I know his resume has a lot of certification because he worked on it. But two, see, he can talk the cybersecurity talk and he has the experience. So with your certifications, you want to format your resume where the most critical things are at the top. I always like to say that the certification should be shown at the top of there somewhere. All right. Especially if you want to market yourself well. On that first page, somewhere, show those certifications because those are the things that are going to get you highlighted. In your opening block, this is where you brag about yourself. Okay. You put a couple of sentences up there and you brag about yourself and you show your skill sets. And then after that, you get into your education and your certs and you show that as well. And there are certain resumes, for people that have been around for a long time, the certs and the education is put at the back. It's about your skill sets and how you can contribute to a company. All right. So self-study. If you did some self-study, document that down on your resumes. All right. Some of the other things here, training. If you did training, then you go work on that as well too, and make sure you show it. And I have a little secret I want to share you. I want to share here. Watch this. All right. So what I've done here is that that I've shown the picture of a resume. So if you look to the left, look at the job description. And if you look to the right, just go and look at the summary over there. All right. Now, if you look at the job description, it is about working in a SOC, where a person track incident tickets and so forth, and does the incident tracking. So many bullets over there written. But if you look to the right, this is their resume, and their resume matches that job description. Notice that um, there's a different discussion about the different SIMs and ArcSight, and if you notice that the bottom line states that the person has to have experiments, well, using leading edge tools such as ArcSight for a large federal agency. So at the first block, person said, I work for HHS. Okay. All right. So this person states, I work for HHS. Bam. If you work for HHS, well, that's a large agency. ArcSight is one of the tools, a SIMs down there that is being discussed. And look at the reporting and the ticketing, and a couple of things are falling in line too. So if I were to look at this resume, I would call this person up the first time and say, let's go have a conversation because I like your resume. See, resumes can be easy. All you have to do is to put in the homework. So I just wanted to show everybody that so you can see that as well too. Okay. Now what I want to do is to give you some takeaways. Look for keywords in the job posting. Keywords are very important. Use those keywords for Dice and Monster and also for Indeed. Review resume examples for your industry. There are plenty of information out there on YouTube, on Google, and everywhere for the cybersecurity industry and resumes. Make your resume simple and easy to read. Make it brief. Include numbers. You remediate 25,000 vulnerabilities. Include only relevant information and put it first. Relevant information that's going to catch the eye. All right. So you got to make sure you put that up there. Some of the other areas is your font size. And I've already talked about the font size. Proofread and edit your resume. Grammarly is a great tool that I bought and I use at the house for document editing. If you don't have Grammarly, then send it. You can send your resume over to a friend or somebody that has a very strong program that can monitor your resume and to look at it and to see if there are any errors. Because little errors like misspellings, no period at the end of your sentences, run-on sentences, fluff. I was the #1 SOC analyst for my company for 5 years. Okay. All right. Now tell me why. See, you got to add some weight to your resumes. Okay. Before applying, you should ask yourselves, have I made it as easy as possible for the employer to see that I'm qualified? I got that from Indeed. Okay. So as you can see, resume writing can be fun, but you have to do your homework. I always like to talk about homework because although you can pay somebody else to do your resume, but you have to make sure that you stay involved. And much of this is part of your cybersecurity mindset, because in your cybersecurity mindset, you are proactive. And when you're proactive, then you can anticipate things, right? And if you can anticipate things, then you can document that down on your resume, right? So I will say again, if you have not joined my YouTube channel, do join it. If you have not purchased the Cybersecurity Mindset, do so as well too, because there's some great information out there. And let's just keep everybody smart. Let's just stay focused. Let's just make sure that our cybersecurity mindset is always active. All right. So until next time, you stay cyber safe into the world.
You've been listening to the Chief of Cybersecurity Livestream. Please join the YouTube channel and purchase your copy of the Cybersecurity Mindset.